Pittsburgh Steeler fans, happy holidays and Merry Christmas and all of the above. This is Dave Schofield coming at you for another episode of Steelers Stat Geek. This is a very special Christmas Eve episode because Christmas Eve is on a Tuesday, and that is when we do the show. And joining me, as has become the custom, is my big brother, Rich. Rich, how are things going today on this December 24th?
Been a busy day, a lot of work to get done, but nice to take a break and talk Steeler football for a little bit here.
Yeah, I have a whole lot of work to do. I mean, a whole lot of work to do. But I'm glad I can be able to do this. Got a lot of things going on here, but that's great. I know we're only a minute into the show, and I wanted to wait a little bit to do this, but I can't. I just can't. There are certain things in life and certain milestones and certain holidays that just don't seem complete until certain things come around. Now, you and I, as kids growing up, we shared a bedroom.
Okay.
Hold on. But now, first, here's one. It was not Christmas morning until we woke up and had to wait to get up, and you hit play on the tape, and we busted out and listened to one Christmas in Hollis. It was not Christmas morning until we listened to Christmas in Hollis.
I still play it on Christmas morning.
Okay. But there's something else out there that you need, something else you got to have. And for our Steeler family out there, I'm hoping maybe this is something that it just doesn't seem like it's Christmas until you have something. So we're going to throw back. We're going to do the final stanza from the 1980 classic. Here we go.
On the 12th day of Christmas, the Roonies gave to me the Steelers in the playoffs. John Stallworth leaping, Larry Brown a blocking, Mike Webster hiking, Terry Bradshaw singing, Plum intercepting, Lynn Swan a catching, Franco Harris's moves, Joe Green a sacking, Jackson Ham attacking, Matt Mara kicking on the field, just no Super Bowl key.
And what's sad is I'm pretty sure we had a better quality of audio when we had that taped off the radio as kids, because I remember us listening to that for years, and it did not seem like it was Christmas unless we listened to the Steelers 12 Days of Christmas. Now, I know they've updated it recently. That's still the best one. I was talking with my father who wanted to hear that because he's down here visiting. Or maybe I should say our father. And we were trying to debate on what the year was. And I thought for sure I was right. And because I'm like, if they're talking about all these players and they're talking about a fifth Chuck No Super Bowl team, and they're talking about Matt Barra kicking, it had to be 1980.
Right.
Because Matt Barra only kicked in 79 and 80, and they won the Super Bowl in 79 to get their fourth. So if they were going for their fifth, it had to be 1980. So I don't know if that was ever a tradition to everyone else out there. I hope you could actually hear that coming through. Were you able to hear that, bro?
I could hear it.
All right. So now it feels like it is officially a Steelers Christmas. So, hey, let's just go ahead and jump into the show. Let's do some numbers. Man, I don't even want to.
For past week, the Steelers have given me coal.
I am sad. I am sad. Yeah, they gave us a bunch of coal. And now I know the saying of, with enough pressure, coal turns into diamond. Well, guess what? They got some pressure this week because they've got to go into Baltimore and win that game to even have a chance at the postseason.
Why does this feel like last year all of a sudden?
Oh, it does feel like last year all over again, except there's only one difference. Well, not only one. There's one major difference. Last year, the expectations the whole season were for the Steelers to be in the playoffs, especially when they were sitting at, what was it, 7-2-1?
7-2-1.
I mean, they had I was doing the articles on like the magic number for the Steelers with like 5 or 6 weeks left in the season, and they couldn't get there, and they just couldn't get there. Now this year, whole different story. Ben Roethlisberger goes out week 2. If you would have told people after week 2, especially after week 3 when the Steelers were 0-3, that, hey, you're going to have a chance to make the playoffs going into week 17, people would have laughed their heads off. They would have said, well, I guess the Ravens just weren't very good and we still had a chance to win the division. No, that wasn't it either. It's not like an NFC East this year where 9 wins will get you a division title. The Ravens are locked in as the 1 seed. So the way things have played out for the Steelers to still be in the discussion is actually something that most fans would have taken back in week 2 or 3. So, but Snowman, you're right. I just saw it. It feels like last year.
It does, especially the last couple weeks. I know you were right in terms of, we were 7-2-1 last year, but you gotta look back, 2.5 weeks ago, it was like, hey, we got, Buffalo, we got the Jets, we got the Ravens, 3 games to play. Get one of those, we're probably in. And you were like, get Buffalo, it's a done deal. Get the Jets, probably, and so far we're 0 for 2.
Yep. And not only we're 0 for 2, I'll start with a number.
Okay.
I'll start with it because it's a 2-week number. 10. We've only been able to put up 10 points in each game over the last 2 weeks.
Horrible.
That's when the defense holds the other team to 17 points and 16 points. The defense has given up 33 points total in 2 weeks, and the Steelers are 0-2. So I think we know where a lot of this blame lies. What do you think?
Fire Keith Butler.
I don't know if you caught Jeff did a new show last night. It was funny because he texted Lance Williams and I was like, I'm doing a new show tonight. I need a name for a show. So I threw out something that just being dumb that I said like the heart of the matter but I knew that was terrible just to make him laugh. And then my next suggestion, him and Lance jumped all over it. So Jeff's new show is called Next Man Up. And one of the things he was talking about was just think of where people were last year with Keith Butler. And now all of a sudden you look at this defense and they're like, people weren't complaining about Keith Butler. But we'll bring up what Jeff talked about that in a little bit.
Let me just say, you're talking about the offense and the terrible numbers they're putting up. So something I started thinking about a couple days ago was, do you realize what the Steelers would look like if we had our defense and a defense that ranked 15th to 20th in the NFL?
You mean an offense that ranked 15th to 20th?
Yeah, offense.
Yeah. Yes.
15 to 20. If the offense ranked 15 to 20 with our current defense, think about where we'd be.
Yeah, kind of like we just got here from, I don't know, is that Itzienzer or ITS? I don't know which way you pronounce it, but he said multiple times, imagine if we had Ben and a healthy offense just to go with this defense.
Yep.
Just imagine even after week 2, if you would have said that the Steelers were still in it because their defense had been playing lights out, you would have thought people were crazy. You would have been completely insane because the problem had been the defense for so long. And then all of a sudden, you have a first round draft pick that you'd move up to take. You make a fantastic move to bring in someone else, even though it cost you next year's first round pick. And this defense looks completely different.
It looks very good. Okay. Now, sorry, I'm going to stick on that offense a little bit.
No, go for it.
I said, first of all, I thought, man, imagine if we were even ranked somewhere 15 to 20 in the offense. All right. Mm-hmm. What if we could run the ball like we ran the ball last year?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's take, because you talked about Ben. Take Ben out of that. What if we could just run the ball like we ran the ball last year?
Yep.
What would that do for our offense?
Oh, exactly. But there's so much to it, because why can't they run the ball like they ran it last year? They're like, oh, the offensive line is good. How about the defenses not respecting the pass? Because the defense doesn't respect the pass. They're loaded up on the run. There's a lot of cause and effect here. And sure, I know I've been absolutely ripping Randy Fichtner for the season. But it's funny, as the weeks have gone on and I've seen this offense and I've seen the quarterback play, I'm the one who even talked one Jefferson Hartman off of the ledge after the last game. I'm like, I'm not convinced he's the problem anymore. I'm really not convinced he's the problem. I'm not saying that he's not a problem. I'm just saying I'm not convinced that he's the problem
Oh,
because
yeah. I mean, there's
I've
multiple
I've
layers to this.
I've told this story before on other shows. I don't know if I have on this one or not, but my last season coaching, coaching high school, I coached. I was the head coach of the freshman team at our school, and the very first game, we go out there and we had less practices because the head coach of the program didn't want the freshmen in distracting the other players for the first 4 days of practice. So we started 4 or 5 days later, so we had that many less practices to go with. And we go into our first game, and I had like nobody to play the offensive line. I was just trying to put any able-bodied person there. We had no size, nothing. We go in, we had the game plan. This is what we're going to do. It wasn't even halftime. And I'm holding my play sheet, and I turn to my assistant coach, who ironically is now the head varsity coach at the same school. And I said to him, I'm like, Coach, I said, there's not one play on this paper that I can call that's going to work. We can't actually do any of this. We just so weren't ready to play. And because we didn't have the personnel. I had kids that didn't know. I mean, I was trying to teach them. It is so hard to teach them who to block when you have to teach them for the very first time how to block, and on a very, very shortened schedule. So I could completely see the whole idea of Coach Fiedner, like, I'd like to do more things, but we just don't have the people to do it. I mean, you could see a major difference in just the balls being thrown when Mason Rudolph came in for Devlin Hodges. Just the zip that was on the ball and everything, that was completely different. It kind of showed a little bit more of, as much as you like, Duck's attitude and moxie and, fire and everything and command and confidence, you could see where the other things that he had that were lacking, you could actually see when Rudolph came in after him, which hadn't happened yet. And unfortunately, as those of you that may not know, Mason Rudolph was put on injured reserve today. So that's a move that was easy to make because he was going to be out, definitely. Even if he was only going to be out 4 weeks, it wasn't worth keeping him around. So it's just the defenses. I mean, we talk about stop bringing out Zach Banner and just saying we're going to run right here. But my goodness, at least try to put somebody out there that'll help you be able to run it. I mean, I'm starting to see it from both sides now. I'm like, yes, you could use so much more creativity. But if the guys can't handle what you're doing, I can't say which one's the problem anymore. It's just overall bad, whether it was Fiedner or the lack of skill of the players.
But to knock Fiedner a little bit though. Okay. Yeah. Here's something he cannot get away from. All right. Mm-hmm. He's had now 17 weeks. What has he figured out?
That's the problem.
That's the problem. He's had 17 weeks and hasn't really shown that he has figured out anything. That's although you can talk about personnel and things like that, that's still got to be a little bit scary going forward. That he's had the amount of time that he's had and hasn't really done much to figure out what works. We thought way back in that Miami game or whatever, oh, hey, we're running some Wildcat. Maybe that'll work. So he's kind of stuck with that, and we found out now we got to stop doing that.
Well, yeah, because I can't remember who said it or who we quoted it from, so I'm just going to say it. Creativity and gimmicky are not the same thing. Yeah. You can't go to just be gimmicky and think that's being creative. You can be creative in other ways. But I'll be honest with you, one Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger makes it a whole lot easier to be creative.
For sure it does.
So it's just, I guess I was starting to put myself in Coach Fiedner's shoes. I'm like, is he really out there saying there's nothing I can do? And you know what kind of got me a little bit more on board with this was I don't always watch all the other NFL games. I love to. I just don't always have the time. But because my father was in town, I'm like, I'm going to have on the Monday Night Football game. So we're watching the Monday Night Football game while I'm working on some articles and whatnot for BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, which is your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers, bringing you plenty of articles even through the holidays. So make sure you check it out. All right, I got that plug in there pretty good, didn't I? But as we're watching that game, I felt the same way about the Minnesota Vikings last night. My goodness. I mean, I know Kirk Cousins has never won a game on Monday Night Football and everything. That dude had zero time to even begin to try to throw a pass. They couldn't block anybody. They couldn't run the ball. Their longest drive of the game was 31 yards. They couldn't do anything.
That's because they're rushing everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because you knew they couldn't run the ball because talk about a team that, they're decimated at the running back position.
Yeah.
The Vikings are. So it was just, hey, we're going to pin our ears back and come after Cousins because that's the only chance the Vikings would have to win. So,
yeah. And it was, and then of course they hit for a long touchdown and gets called back on a hold. That's the only reason he had long enough time to throw it. But let's not talk about the Vikings.
No, let's not talk about the Vikings. I'm going back to Steelers. Going back to Fichtner. Maybe here's my disappointment in him. Okay. And I'm actually going to steal your phrase. Okay. Steal your phrase that you have thrown out there a bunch. Okay. You got to think about where we've been as a team this year with the injuries and everything. And you have said, we've been playing with house money.
Yeah.
Right. That's been your thing. We've been playing with house money. Nothing to lose. But we haven't coached our offense that way.
Exactly. But is that from Coach Fichtner or is that from Coach Tomlin? Because
that's another great question.
When the line was that he quoted, "He didn't kill us," it seemed like that was their offensive philosophy. Don't kill us. Give us a chance to stay in the game and see what happens with this defense. But the problem is, you say they haven't killed us, but what is it? 22 or 23 now? The consecutive games with at least one turnover.
I don't know. I ran out of fingers and toes.
Yeah.
I can't.
Lance will throw it in the live chat because he's in there. It's so I don't. Is that Fichtner? Is that Tomlin? Is that Fichtner telling Tomlin that's what we need to do, or is that Tomlin telling Fichtner this is what I want in the offense? I don't know. All I know is that for a team that says they don't live in their fears, they sure have been playing awfully scared on offense for most of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
We're saying one thing, but boy, it doesn't look that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you see what these quarterbacks, now I know it's not the same competition, but when you saw the way that they played in the preseason and everything, that's because they weren't scared. No, the offense wasn't scared to lose a preseason game. And you just saw a different mentality with either one of your quarterbacks as they went. I'm afraid I really roasted Coach Fichtner because I felt like he was hurting Mason Rudolph more than he was helping him when Rudolph was the starter. Then Duck came in and did great stuff. I'm like, let's just fly with the Duck and see what happens. Once again, I'm worried. Was Coach Fichtner actually hurting Hodges with what they're trying to do? When you listened to Rudolph's interviews and whatnot, it was always like, well, we got to take care of the ball. When Coach Fichtner says this, and I got to look for this, I'm like, they had him so concerned about not making the wrong play that it seemed like he wasn't prepared to make the right play.
Right.
And although I haven't heard that with the interviews with Hodges as much, I'm wondering if that was the philosophy that's creeping in. I don't know. All I know was that I still can't believe, based on the quarterback play, that the Steelers did what they did. Was I ready for either one of those quarterbacks to come in and have a Ben Roethlisberger moment where they just grabbed this team, threw it on their shoulders and say, I don't care that I'm a rookie. Let's take this by storm. That would have been fantastic, but It just didn't happen. I felt like they weren't given as much opportunity based on formations and play calls out of those formations. That's still a problem that I have with Coach Fichtner. You know what?
Yes.
I got to answer something. I saw it way back. I think it was Snowman that put it out there. He wanted to know about Rudolph's shoulder. What happened with Rudolph is Coach Tomlin said he didn't have surgery, but I did see a report that he had to have a procedure to have it put back in place, which doesn't necessarily mean surgery. Is that was it a dislocation or a sprain of the SC joint, the sternoclavicular joint, which is, if you're watching on YouTube, it's where your clavicle meets your sternum. It was on the left shoulder. I know it because I actually sprayed the exact same thing in college, throwing what is called the 35-pound weight, which is the indoor equivalent of throwing the hammer. If you know anything about track and field, that was indoor track and field. That I actually did something where I jolted that and had to and missed part of a season because of that injury. So that's the deal with Rudolph. They said it's 6 to 8 weeks, which means he's going to be ready for the offseason and everything should be fine moving forward. His 2019 season is over. Do you have any other numbers from this past game since we're just kind of ranting off on everything?
I don't want to say
I got at least one.
I don't want to say anything so much specific now, the numbers, other than the fact that, going through stats and everything, if you look at it on paper, we played ever so slightly ahead of the Jets.
Absolutely.
Except on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Now, not well ahead of the Jets,
mm-hmm.
but we played slightly. It wasn't like the Jets came in and made us look terrible. They weren't blowing anything out of the water either. Rushing numbers, very similar. Passing numbers, very similar. There are some numbers.
I was wanting to look up. There was at least 6 major stat categories where the Steelers were ahead of the Jets. You ready? How about first down, 16 to 14?
Yep.
How about total yards, 260 to 259, 1 yard more? How about passing yards, 185 to 174? How about total plays, 66 to 60? Completion percentage, I don't have that percentage, but 25 of 37, which was better of 16 of 26. And time of possession of 31 and a half minutes to 28 and a half minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of statistics where the Steelers did more. Now, if you even look at not the number of rushing yards or the number of rushes, but if you look at rushing average, the Steelers were higher.
Better.
They were better in rushing average. They just didn't attempt it as much, and therefore they were a little bit behind in yards. So it was just one of those things. Here's a number for me. It's the number of 1. I'm not talking about one trip. The Steelers took 1 snap in the red zone.
In the red zone.
1 snap in the red zone.
And it resulted in what?
An interception.
An interception. One turnover.
Yes. They were 0 for 1 in the red zone with a turnover on 1 snap. They made it to the 19-yard line. The only time they got closer was and how in the world did the Jets defense give up that play to Deontay Johnson for that touchdown? And I think that's why I was so mad about this game, because the Steelers were down 10-0 at the 2-minute warning going into halftime, and they put up 10 points in the final 2 minutes. They get the field goal. They get the big play on defense. They get the big play on offense. They're going into halftime, and they're getting the ball coming out of the half, and they lay a complete egg in the second half. Sorry.
Okay, so here's the best part. I was not actually watching the game on TV on Sunday. I was listening to the game on satellite radio, because I was having to do some work on Renee's car. So, so I'm working on her car and I'm listening to that. And the way you were just reacting was me. I was doing that. I was talking like that. I was yelling like that. Nobody around to hear me, but I'm still doing that. And it was, that's how I felt as the game was going on. It's like, how can you come out and lay such an egg in the second half? Maybe we should just run the 2-minute offense all the time.
Yeah. But the thing is, how comfortable were they with it, with the young quarterbacks? Well, guess what? The guy that was in the game later when Rudolph went out injured is who was your starter going into the game. And if you have a starter that's coming into the game that's not ready to be a 2-minute offense, then there's a problem there. He had started how many weeks in a row? Yeah, had to be. So it's frustrating. It's everything. I honestly, he wasn't perfect, because if he was perfect, he would have scored more points in the time he was in there. But I thought Mason Rudolph did not look like the same Mason Rudolph that we saw against the Browns and Bengals. He looked more like the Mason Rudolph that we saw earlier. He had a lot of zip on the ball, and he didn't seem to be playing scared.
Yeah, it still has a tendency to throw a lot of balls behind receivers, though.
Yes.
If I could take Hodges' anticipation and put it with Mason Rudolph's arm, we might have Ben Roethlisberger.
Well, I've said before, if you could mold the positives of those two quarterbacks together, then you have a franchise quarterback. It's
Right.
just, I mean, and they're not that different of players, but you take a couple strengths from one, a couple strengths from the other that would cover each other's weaknesses, and there you go. But Rudolph didn't. I mean, I would have had more confidence going into this game this week if either A, Mason Rudolph did not get hurt and was playing, or even if he got hurt but was well enough to come back this week, or B, Devlin Hodges would have led the Steelers on a scoring drive and won the game. I would have felt much better. Now, I know things were really close at the end. James Washington almost came down with that pass. Juju Smith-Schuster took a lot of blame for not catching that pass. That would have been a horror. I mean, that would have been not a horrible. That would have been an amazing catch because he was reaching back behind his head. But in his defense, what screwed up that play was the botch, was the bad snap, pressure in his face. And I know some people are like, why are we throwing it to the end zone when it was 4th and 7? Because he couldn't even look to see if anybody was open, because after getting the ball, having to get his eyes down to get the ball and come up, he didn't have time to look through progressions. He had guys in his face, and you can't take a sack on 4th down. So he just heaves it in the direction where he knows someone is going. So, but I'd rather see that than take a sack on 4th down.
Yeah.
So I actually commended Duck for trying to put the ball out there, and he got it really close to him, but it would have been a really tough and amazing play. Yes, Juju mistimed his jump a little bit. I know someone just said there. That was Dennis. But if you look about it, Juju was coming. It was kind of a little bit behind his head as well. It would have been a tough play, but it was still a makeable play. But you were put into some situations there. But bottom line is, I mean, the Steelers were down 3, got the ball in field goal range, then took a sack and then a botched snap and lost 17 yards on the next 2 plays and had to punt. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you were dealing with, is that even when you got in range for a long field goal, next thing you know, I mean, maybe you should have kicked the field goal on 2nd down. I don't want to sound like that much of a naysayer, but that's kind of how it was. They had their chance right there where I'm like, all right, they're going to tie this game now. Get some points on the board, then you're going to be all right.
Can I ask? Okay, I got another question for you, because we've been talking a lot of the year about all these bad snaps in the shotgun. Okay. At what point then did we say, you know what, we're struggling out of the shotgun, and stop running it every down?
You mean stop running the shotgun?
Yes.
Well, here you go. Here's why. You want to know why?
Because Ben Roethlisberger's been our quarterback, and he wants to take the ball out of the shotgun. But Ben Roethlisberger was not our quarterback this year.
Well, here's the thing.
That's my thing. You can't coach to the players you wish you had. You have to coach to the players that you have.
You ready? Here we go. You got to hear this. Marquise Pouncey hurts his knee. He comes out of the game. The very next snap was when Mason Rudolph was injured. Because what happens? B.J. Finney comes in, hasn't taken. They go under center. Finney steps on Rudolph.
Steps on Hodge.
Gets up.
Run Rudolph.
And that's when he hurt his SC joint. That was the next, and he stayed in for a couple more plays, but that's when he hurt himself, was the very next play, because they go in and go under center. And granted, the snap worked, but the footwork didn't work. I don't know if it was Finney's fault. I don't know if it was Rudolph's fault. I don't want to place blame on either one of them, because I once again, I had to watch the game stream it online, so I couldn't go back and look at anything like that. I'm not sure which player, or maybe a little both, or just one of those things. So it's just, so you say, that's what I'm saying. And so many times I'm like, Coach Fiedner, why don't we get creative and do this? And then they try to do it and it doesn't work. So I'm like, maybe I was really happy last game. They came in the jumbo package and
threw the ball,
ran a really nice pass play. They did. I'm trying to remember which one it was, because I couldn't go back and watch it. But they came in with Zach Banner and
had both Johnson and Washington in the game. I think were the 2 receivers. Yeah, we had 2 decent receivers in with the jumbo package. Yep. I think that's the second time in 2 weeks that they've done that. The last time they ran, this time they threw.
Yeah,
that was okay.
Yep. Well, I've turned over the live chat if they had any numbers from this past week, because we're getting ready to move forward. I have one more number, but I want to do it as my transition number.
Okay.
and I'm trying to go back to see what I can find. I'm looking specifically for numbers since I said that.
There weren't.
Knapp wanted to know because Knapp was at the game. He was there.
Yeah.
I actually got a message from him that showed that showed the stadium and everything. Well, I didn't get it from him. He sent it to Brian, and Brian sent it to me. He says that it says, didn't they blow 3 potential field goal field possession opportunities? The one I was talking about was specifically in field goal range. They had another one, right? But I think it might have even been the drive right before it or 2 drives before it, where they got the ball at the 42, at their own 42. That close. Think 42, you need 25 yards and you got a field goal. But which
it was at least 2 because you had the red zone interception.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had the one you were just talking about where we were in range, then got backed up on 2 consecutive plays. But I was with him. I was thinking there was one other possession.
Yeah.
Where we were at least close, where we probably needed to gain like 5 yards on third down, and instead we lost 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's, and of course, the interception was one early on, but
that's what I said.
Yes,
you missed that.
I know. I thought, I was reading. I thought I caught you say that, so I thought I was agreeing with you. Dennis had said, I know it looked like his P button stopped working. They have to play the playbook they have, no matter who the players are. That's not Dennis. That's not completely true.
That's not completely
true.
That's not
true. You have a playbook and you have a philosophy, but you can adapt that week by week based on your players. Think about it. How much if the Steelers would have look at we'll just say last season. And this might have been part of the reason why they moved on from him. When they had Josh Dobbs as their backup quarterback, that's not a same playbook.
Correct.
And that's why one of the things that the Steelers wanted to do to simplify was to get other quarterbacks similar enough to Ben Roethlisberger that you didn't have to completely redo the playbook. So you have the playbook, but you have a lot of liberties within that when you're developing your game plan each week. So I didn't get to read all this, so I hope it's okay when I get to the end, because sometimes these long ones is tough. But it's Yinzer. This season's been so much fun regardless of the end result. It showed a Steeler team with adversity and Tomlin making something out of a terrible start. What a season. I think we can say that when the season is over. The fact that we're in it right now and the Steelers for 2 straight weeks were in control of their own destiny. They lost a game, still had control of their own destiny, and then lost another one. And technically they were favored to win both games.
And that's been the part that's been hard to swallow. Up until the last 2 weeks, I've been all over this season and thinking, hey, this is good. But when we got, I don't even want to say our backs to the wall, because our backs haven't been to the wall. We were out in front, and instead of grabbing it, we've kind of let it slip through our fingers.
Yep. So, let's see. Donald said this as a number. He said 2 games we need to get in the playoffs. Steelers win, Titans lose. That's true. There's actually another route where if they both lose, they can get in. But that, rather than I could take 5 minutes and explain all of that to you, but we've got other things to do. Let's just worry about a Steelers win. Okay. Here we go. This is a good one with Steeler fan 74. 10.5 sacks for Stud Dupree this year. That was a big question that people asked. Would he get double-digit sacks? I had him at 8 or 8.5 was my estimate at the beginning of the year. So this has been a nice surprise. I see some other people that we're talking about too. I know someone here later says, I got a stat for you too, but I'm not sure. I'll just read it rather than bring it up because he put it over a couple of them. 2 years in a row not making the playoffs. What's crazy, even if the Steelers don't make the playoffs, if they win this week and get to 9 wins, then they match last year's win total, which seems kind of crazy. I'm going to throw out another number. Before I do, I want to remind everyone, this is a good time to do it. We'll get to more stuff once we go through stuff with this week, to where if you all wanted to say, maybe answer some questions if we have some time later, or look for some numbers going into the final week of the season. But if you want to make sure that we're reading what you put up there, you can use the super chat feature, type it in, hit the little $, donate any amount of money you want to the show. We will definitely read your comment. I know sometimes when I'm watching other shows, I'm trying to let people know, like I'm trying to send Lance a text one time. Lance, you've got a super chat further down. Make sure you get to it, and stuff like that. We do all we can to make sure that gets mentioned. But don't feel like you have to spend your money here, this holiday season on us. If you do anything else, do what it says at the bottom of the screen that says make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. We are very, very close to hitting those 5,000 subscribers. And of course, whenever you hit that like button, we're like, well, does that really help? Actually, it does, because when you go in and type in Steelers or Steelers podcast or anything like that on YouTube, the more likes that we get on the videos from the channel, the more our content from the channel gets promoted towards the top of those searches. So that's all on you all. So if you go in and you search for us and you see us more towards the top, that's thanks to you all, just because of your hitting the thumbs up button. So just to let you all know, I'm not going to be looking at the live chat right now as we move on a little bit. I'll let you know when we go back to have stuff come up. So if you have something you want to bring up, you could hold it for a little bit. Just enjoy your guys' Christmas Eve conversations that you have going on in there right for now. But a number from last week, which leads into next week, which leads into the whole title of the show. We were back to that crazy number of 3. And that number of 3 was 3 third down conversions. The Steelers only had 3 third down conversions against the Jets. And that was a problem they had early in the season. And that's a problem that has reared its ugly head yet again. It's been a problem. What, you have any thoughts on that, bro?
Yeah. Feel like I've been trying to pay more attention to Steeler drives and why we're coming up with such issues on third down. Some of our third down issues are because of our lack of doing anything on first and second down. You can't expect to have a sustained drive where you are having to complete multiple third down and 8s or more.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So,
and honestly, we have third down and 7+ yards a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, we really do. There was, I don't know how, I can't remember how the drive ended. I don't even remember which drive it was, because like I said, I couldn't go back and watch the game because I couldn't record it. So there was one drive, and I don't even think it was, I think they'd already gotten a first down. And on first down, they threw the ball. They got 3 or 4 yards. The Steelers threw the ball, got 3 or 4 yards. So they're sitting at 2nd and 6. And guess what the Jets are thinking they're going to do, because it's what they always do. Guess what when the Steelers start to throw the ball on first down, they commit to throwing the ball on every down. And when they go run on first down, you can almost always look for a run on second down to then have a pass on third. It's either run, pass, or pass. So it's just kind of what they did. But I loved it. You know what they did? They did pass. They did run on it was like 2nd and 7 or 2nd and 6. And what do you know? They got that first down on that second down run.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this is the kind of stuff, just little stuff that I'm talking about. But it's so funny. It is so much outcome-based criticism. Jeff mentioned this before. He was frustrated with a draw on 2nd and 11. He's like, for like no gain or -1 yard. He's like, but if they bust that for 15 yards, I'm talking about how genius of a call it was. So when it comes to the bad play calling, what makes it bad play calling is when the other team can snuff it out so easy because they know it's coming.
Yes.
But if that's not the case and you're just making a different call and the execution just isn't there, I mean, it's really an outcome-based thing. I got some numbers here to dive into with the third downs, and that is that the Steelers right now have 7 games in 2019 in which they had 3 third down conversions or less. They had 3 for all of them. One of them, except one game, they only had 2 third down conversions. Those games were the first 5 games of the season when they went 1-4. Mm-hmm. So that was New England, Seattle, San Francisco, Cincinnati, and Baltimore. They only had 2 third down conversions when they played Cleveland the first time and lost. And they only had 3 third down conversions against the Jets. So that's 7 games. The Steelers did manage to win one of those games, and that was their one, pretty handy win. They won handily. I can't even spit it out right. The first time they played the Bengals.
Well, part of that was because they probably just didn't. How many third downs did they even face that game?
Yes. So that's another thing that's very interesting is you don't have to convert on third down if you're not even getting to third down. When you're getting first downs on first and second down, I mean, it really comes down to as much of anything, first down. When you're getting 5 to 7 yards on first down, when it's 2nd and 3, anything's possible. You can even take the deep shot. That's 2nd and 2 is a fantastic time to take a deep shot because you still have a very manageable third down if it's incomplete. So as much as we're going to talk about third down, I know Lance Williams has been harping on this for a long time. It's first down. It's the lack of success on first down as much as anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
First down. Believe it or not, and second down, because you talked about it just a little bit earlier. Let's make the first down on second down. We spend too much time, almost like our play calling was we begin, I don't even want to say a drive. Every time we have first down, it's almost like our mentality is, okay, we got 3 plays to make this. We're going to take 3 plays and get 10 yards. No, let's not take 3 plays and get 10 yards. Let's get 10 yards plus in 2 plays. Let's get 10 plus yards in 1 play.
Yeah. It's like the philosophy on first down is, can we get something? Or even better, can we not lose yards on first down? It's almost like they don't even want to give up a sack on first down. They got to try to, do things like that. I still think it almost seems like they're playing scared. Why isn't the goal to get at least 8 yards on first down? Let's shoot for 8 yards. Let's run a play. It's almost like, okay, we're going to set up our plays. Here we go. If we
need to get 2 to 3 yards on first down,
and then 3 to 4 on second down, and give ourselves a third and manageable. How about give yourself a second and short? I would love second and short. So, but then again, look at the personnel. That it's such a vicious cycle with all these different things. I've got some other numbers I wanted to throw out there. With 7 games of 3 first downs or less, the Steelers are tied for the second worst with Arizona and Denver, that also have 7 games with 3 first down or 3 third down conversions or less. Not 3, 7 third down conversions or less. There we go. I finally got it right. And Washington has 9. 9 of their 15 games, they have had 3 or less third down conversions, with at least 1 game in there with 1 and several with 2. So that's a problem with some other teams. But this is really bad when it comes to looking at the Steelers. You can say, well, they don't have the worst third down conversion in the league. Yeah, but they do have some of their worst numbers for the franchise. Like, when I'm using Pro Football Reference to look up some of these stats, they only have stuff on third down conversions and things like that going back to 1991. So if we're going from 1991 on, by far the worst Steelers team with third down conversions was 1991, which was Chuck Noll's last year. They were awful. They were really, really bad. Let's see. They only had a 33.9 percent in 19. No, and 33.9 is what they have right now on their third down conversion rate. But in 91, they had 31.5. I think they had it's got some really bad numbers when you go back and look at 1991. The highest third down conversions the Steelers have had all season was 8 against the Chargers. The last time they only had 1 game in a season with 8 or more third down conversions was in 2009, where they only had 1 game of 8 or more. So it's been a problem, but quarterback play is a big thing to go with that. So I have a ton more stats that I could just go into with that, but I don't know that it's even necessary. Like for example, running the ball. Who do you think has the most third down conversions running the ball? Maybe I should ask you this. Who do you think has the most third down rushing attempts on the Steelers?
Wow. Trey Edmonds.
Believe it or not, Trey Edmonds only has 2 third down attempts.
Okay.
And he did not convert on any of them. It is a tie of the number of rushes on third down between Benny Snell Jr., who's converted 7 of the 8, and Mason Rudolph.
Oh my goodness.
Who has 4 out of 8. He has 8 rushes on third down. Okay. Duck has 7 rushes on third down right behind him. And but he only converted 2 of those.
Okay, no, 7.
Like Connor is 1 of 5. Edmonds is 0 of 2. Samuels is 0 of 3, and White is 1 of 2 when it comes to third down rushing. So just some crazy and interesting stuff there. And I was also really surprised with the number of completions that the Steelers have on third down versus the number of conversions. Meaning they have a lot more completions than conversions, which means they're throwing the ball short constantly on third down. Like Rudolph had 28 third down conversions through the air, but he completed 43 passes.
Right.
So that means 15 times they completed the pass, but not for long enough for the first down. Hodges is even worse. He has 16 first down completions on third down, but that was on 33 completions, not attempts, completions.
Mm-hmm.
So there was 17 times where he completed the ball, but short of the sticks. So it's just crazy stuff. So I wish I knew the answer. I wish I could say, oh, it's the offensive coordinator. Oh, it's the scheme. Oh, it's the blocking. Oh, it's the snaps. Oh, it's the running, whether it be the line or the running backs. Oh, it's the young receivers. It's so bad that it's too deep to really say what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't believe that this offense has been able to hold on enough to even get the Steelers 8 wins.
Especially when you look at how they've played the last few weeks.
Yes.
But again, has some of that been philosophy? The old, well, let's not let the offense kill us, and in doing so, they can't give you enough to win.
Yes.
Or kill you anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think that's a good way to sum up the last 2 weeks is that, well, 2 weeks ago, it was all the turnovers. It was the 5 turnovers. That was definitely enough to kill you. But this past week, it was, they didn't do so much to kill you as much as they just couldn't revive you. They couldn't,
right.
And
we can't expect the defense to, set us up in the red zone 4 times a game.
Exactly. So, and any specific numbers you'd like to see this week before we turn it over to everyone else? 1 win. Yeah, that's really all I want to see.
I mean, 1 win. At this point in time, based on everything, I don't care if we're doing it rushing. I don't care if we're doing it passing. I don't care if we're doing it on defense or special teams. Just, can we scrape enough together to win a ball game?
I just realized I was still muted because I was typing. Exactly.
I was like, wait a minute, you're silent.
Yes. And you know me, I'm not silent.
No, not at all.
So, it was, I wish I could say, I wish I knew what the Steelers could do to win this game. Now, what's crazy is the way that the odds makers, I had an article that went out, was it this morning? Is today Tuesday? Yeah, I'm so confused with everything. That went out this morning on, which I do every Tuesday morning, about the current odds for the Steelers game coming up. They're favored in Baltimore.
You know why they're favored?
They're favored because Baltimore's resting their players.
Correct.
But what with them? I think they're resting I think they announced either 5 or 6 players. 2 of them were on defense. The rest were on offense. I don't care if they rest their top 7 offensive players. Would you still say that would you think that offense made them worse than the Steelers offense?
No.
The only thing is are they saying that you losing those few players is going to make it where they really can't do anything against the Steelers defense? So
maybe.
Maybe. Yeah.
But they're putting you got Vegas then putting an awful lot of faith in maybe.
Yes. And while we did this show live, I actually had an article that came out. So if you're on here live, go in and check it out on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all your Pittsburgh Steelers needs. The article was about did the NFL stick it to the Steelers by not including one of the games they flexed to 425? Because they did not move the Chiefs-Chargers game to 425. It's at 1. So if the Chiefs win that game at 1:00, the Houston Texans have absolutely nothing to play for.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. They did not move that game to the 425, which being in Kansas City and a West Coast team coming there, that even makes sense for that to be a 425 kickoff anyway. But by doing that, that means the Houston Texans will know either at or close, they'll have an idea of what's going on in that game. And by kickoff, and who knows, it might even be done by then with it being 425 and not 405. And they can make the decision accordingly. Now, they won't have it in time to make the decision for their inactives.
Right.
But as of right now, head coach Bill O'Brien says that he's playing to win. He's playing everybody. That was yesterday. He said that. That was Monday. We'll see how he feels come Friday, and we'll see how he feels come inactive time. But Vegas doesn't believe him because they have Tennessee favored on the road by 5 points.
Yeah.
When Tennessee at home was only favored by 3 points.
And lost.
So and lost. So that tells you right now that they are saying this is going to be, that they think at some point they're going to start resting their players. So my question was that the NFL sticking it to the Steelers and Raiders, or was the NFL actually trying to be more fair since the Steelers were going up against a team that had their position locked? Is it fair for the Titans to go up against a team that has their position locked? I don't think that should be the case when you're dealing strictly with week 17 results. So, or is the NFL just incompetent to realize how important that game was? So I have that as a poll. Go in there and vote if you want to see it. So if you don't have any other numbers you want to see, I want to see one win. I would love to see 0 turnovers. Those were the two numbers I'd really like
break the streak.
Break the streak. Don't carry that through the offseason. And what would be nice is if you break the streak, you might have a chance to not have to carry it, that it would be something that carries over because you could be playing another game. It would be fantastic for the Steelers for whoever can play quarterback for the Steelers to be taking snaps in January. I'm opening it up now that if anyone has any numbers or questions that they want to throw out there, I'll start looking at the live chat. I did see, I don't know exactly from who, several people saying, hey, why not give Paxton Lynch a shot? There's several reasons why you don't do that. One, because if you win this game, you have a chance to be in the playoffs. You really want to go and do that this week. That's one. Two, if you listen to Coach Tomlin's press conference today, and I actually have an article that I'm doing that'll be out tomorrow about it, where he talked about Paxton Lynch. He's saying he's been the third guy. To sum up, he's been the third guy all season. They don't really know him that much. He hasn't really done hardly anything with them. So they know where he was drafted. They knew his pedigree. But when it comes to actually their familiarity with him and his familiarity with the Steelers, even though he's been on the active roster since week 6, they say they're not all that familiar with him because it was always Duck and Rudolph getting all the snaps. So all of a sudden they're like, hey, let's see what he's got. Well, guess what? What fans don't realize, he hasn't had a chance to do hardly anything in practice. So, and part of the reason that even though he was a first round draft pick, they had issues. His biggest issue, a lot of people said, is why he didn't cut it was his lack of game knowledge and game preparation. So I don't know that that's the answer either.
So, some folks said, "Oh, he was a first round pick. Let's see what he's got." Look, he may have been a first round pick, but however many weeks in for us, he was sitting at home that we could sign him to our practice squad. That says a lot.
Exactly. And do you want to know why the Steelers chose him as their quarterback? Because he was practice squad eligible, and that's where they were putting him to start.
Right.
Until Rudolph had the concussion. They wanted someone that they could go put on the practice squad. So imagine that. A first round draft pick quarterback still had practice squad eligibility. Yikes.
And wasn't on somebody's practice squad.
That he could just be signed to a practice squad. So yikes. Yeah, because if people read the reports, Steelers actually contacted the XFL about if they could actually sign Landry Jones instead of Paxton Lynch. And the XFL said no. Nope. They said no to all their quarterbacks because they felt that that's what doomed the AAF because they lost some quarterbacks. The AAF lost some of their better quarterbacks to the NFL late in the season that needed to add guys for injury, and then the NFL didn't release them back. So they didn't trust them to get them back, so they said no. And I don't blame them. if they're trying to do that. So we do have a super chat here. $2 from our good buddy Snowman. He's chimes in about every show that we got. He says, does Duck have a short leash this week?
No, he does not have a short leash this week.
I don't know that he can.
No, right. Because if he has a short leash, you're going to pull him out and throw Paxton Lynch in there? No.
Yeah, I mean that's
No.
not good. Now for those of you that don't know, the Steelers did sign a third quarterback to the practice squad. They signed JT Barrett, was who they signed to the practice squad today, former Ohio State quarterback. But what's interesting about that is he signed to the practice squad because they need a third quarterback, or was that doing like what they did with the Ravens before, where they wanted a more mobile, agile quarterback to run the scout team to this time, I guess, imitate RG3. So that might have been why he was the choice there. But just thought I'd at least throw that out there, that was a move that was made. So, all right, let's see if we got anything else going on here. Anything stand out? Have you been looking at the live chat?
I have. I've not been seeing much anybody going for numbers of any sort.
You know what I love about the live chat? This is why I'm on the live chat for almost every show that we do when I'm not even on the show, is I just love the conversation. And I love that even though we're having our conversation here, you all in the live chat are having your conversation there. If you've never caught one of the shows live, that's the best part of it. You know, there's times I watch the show live and I don't even comment. I'm just listening. I'm just watching the comments as they go. So once again, here it is. It's Christmas Eve. It's in the afternoon. It's about 4:15. And here you all are spending some time with your Steeler family. Okay. Snowman, he really wants us to answer our questions. Another $2 into the tip jar, even if Duck throws 2 or 3 picks.
If Duck throws 2 or 3 picks, okay, put it this way, Snowman. If we pull Devlin Hodges out of this game, we're throwing up the white flag. That's basically what we're doing. White flag thrown up. It's done. It's over. So if he throws 2 or 3 picks and we pull him, we're waving the white flag.
I'm going to agree with you about 60%. And I'm going to say it depends on the nature of the picks. If they're 2 picks, like the 2 picks last week, where those were 2 bad throws that should have been picked, completely agree. If it's another one of these throws, like through Dante Moncrief's hands that should have been caught for a first down and instead goes into the hand of a defender, you know what? I'm not even counting that.
You said Dante Moncrief.
I did say Dante Moncrief.
Wow. Bring it Dante Moncrief back in at the end of the season. Wow.
Got to put the reference out there. I mean, you know why? That was a safe reference, because the last thing you want to do is jinx any player that's currently on the Steelers that they're going to do it. So why not use someone that possibly there's no way that could happen to him for the Steelers this week. So that's the thing. So I think it will depend on, I'm not going to set a number. And I don't think they had a set number for Duck last week. I still find it ironic that when he was pulled from the game, not one of his passes hit the ground. They were all complete. The question was, were they complete to the Steelers or were they complete to the Jets?
Yeah.
So that's what happened. And honestly, it's because they had Rudolph ready to go. And I felt like there was reports about Rudolph getting more playing time in preparation going into the Jets just in case. And maybe they really liked what they saw and thought he was ready to bounce back. And that's why they were ready to go with it. Based on the comments today from Coach Tomlin, I don't think they're really wanting to have to go to Paxton Lynch because the lack of familiarity. Could he come out? Now, remember, the Steelers haven't practiced yet this week. Their first practice is on Christmas Day. So could he come out of practice and just tear it up? Absolutely. I think the length of the leash for Duck Hodges has everything to do with the week of practice of Paxton Lynch.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I could buy that.
Yeah.
Because they're going to actually have to try to have Paxton Lynch ready as the backup. If he has a good week, then you're right. So, okay, what are you laughing at?
Not! I loved it.
Oh,
Moncrief is on the island of misfit toys. Rudolph's not going to save him. I
Nice.
like it. So, yeah. So, well, I'll be honest with you. And another thing that could dictate this is the score. But I still believe in the Steelers defense that this game will never be out of hand. I mean, think about it. What's the only game that the Steelers played all season where the game was out of hand?
the very first game.
Week 1 in New England. That's
Correct.
it. Every game.
So we were, you think about it. You think about the first time we played the Ravens in Pittsburgh, facing their regular offense, and we're right in that game. So maybe that's Vegas's thought in making us favorites in this game.
That the Steelers have been in every game.
What our defense did against, everybody on the Ravens offense earlier in the season, and thinking that if we're seeing backups, maybe we're there. So,
yeah, the Ravens have only been under 150 yards rushing 3 times this season, and one of them was against the Steelers. I'm trying to think what the other 2 were. The other was against the Bills, and then the last one was, I'm pretty sure it was one. I think it might have been like one of these crazy games that they didn't need, or that they just didn't run the ball. So it might have even been the Bengals. I can't remember. It's not that important. So it's just, there's a lot going into this. But yeah, that's the thing. The Steelers defense, I mean, they haven't lost by more than a score since, and they haven't lost by more than a score in the AM. And the AM stands for after Minka. Once they made that trade for Minshew Fitzpatrick, they have been in every game because of their defense. So that's it. It's just how it goes. It's just how it goes. But you know what? It's Christmas Eve. We've been on here. We've been going for a good 60 minutes. You guys have been great in the live chats. But you know what? It's time for us to cut you guys off, because we all probably need to be spending some more time with our families.
Yep.
Before we go, got a couple questions for you, Big Bro. Are you ready with the score?
Oh, for this? Oh, man.
We're going to put it out there. And if other people want to throw in the live chat real quick, we can do that real quick.
Yep, real quick.
I might not read them all, but I will at least bring them up on the screen.
Yeah. 17-14 Ravens.
17-14
Okay.
Ravens.
I'm sticking with that same. Our defense is going to hold to 17. Our offense can't put up enough points.
Yeah. Yep. I'm not going to give mine until Thursday, but that's really making me think. We've got some.
Nice to see somebody upstairs agreed with is pretty close to what I'm saying.
Okay, but we've got stuff like 16-10 Steelers. We've got 16-10 Ratbirds. We've got 24-21 Steelers. I'll be honest with you.
Actually, you know what, that one would. You know what? That wouldn't surprise me as well. Mm-hmm. My predictions based off of what I've seen the past 2 games.
Yep. We've got another 16-10 Steelers, a 28-10 Ravens.
Yeah, Frank. Yeah, no way, Frank, but whatever.
Yeah. One thing that it's funny that George says Minka hasn't done anything in weeks now. Yes, he does. He has commanded the back end of that defense to where they just don't look lost at times like they did last season or the first 2 games this season. That's one of the biggest things Fitzpatrick brings to this team. Isn't necessarily him making the big game-changing plays, but making sure that things are shored up most of the time. There's not. Think about it. What killed the Steelers last year? Constant breakdowns in the secondary.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not saying they never have a breakdown, but I mean, think about it. It's been drastically less. So that's what Minka's been doing. Okay, we have a 20-14 Steelers. We've got a 17-10 Steelers. We've got it skipped on me again. Let's see if I got to go back and find. There we go. We have a 17-13 Ravens, 16-10 Steelers, 9-6. Doesn't even say which team, but honestly, that's a score that would not surprise me.
5-3.
Well, I missed the 5-3. We've got 17-10.
I said 5-3. Let's just give one of those.
We've got a 27-7 Ravens. I'll be honest with you. If the Ravens score 14 points, if the Ravens get to 14 points, I'm going to be scared that the Steelers can't match that. 14-10 Steelers. 21-17. There we go. There's a lot more. I'm not going to be able to bring them all up because we are getting here towards the end. Some people don't want to hear them all. We've got a 12-9 Steelers. We've got another 17-10. But I just want to thank you all so much for tuning in here on Christmas Eve. It's been a really fun show. It's been nice to spend some time with my brother while you guys listen up. We're not exactly sure how this is going to work, but I'm going to tell you this. That once the regular season is over, the way that we do our podcasts might be changed a little bit here behind the steel curtain, but they're not going away. If anything, there might even be a little bit more. Just we're tweaking some stuff with the schedule. That's part of the reason why Jeff did a second podcast last night after the Steelers hangover. We're looking at some different things. Now, here's the thing. I might not be bringing my brother on Steelers Stat Geek in the offseason. If we still have a Steelers Stat Geek in the offseason, that's one of the things we got to talk about. Because if I'm bringing my brother on, it might be that we're going to do a whole new show that's the two of us. So we're not sure exactly how we're doing. Some things are up in the air, but we're not going away. So if you ever tune in and be like, oh no, what happened? This is some things that we're trying to figure out. So we're going to be back next week on New Year's Eve. Even if it's just me, because I don't know what your schedule is yet. I will be back.
Probably available.
I'll be back. We'll be back next Tuesday. It might be another earlier show in the day because of it being New Year's Eve. We will talk about the previous game. Boy, would it be nice to be talking about the next game coming up.
Sure would be.
Fingers crossed. You know what? I don't have a lot of hope. I'm not going to be disappointed because I'm setting myself up for it not happening because that's just how I feel with this team this year.
Just like last year, I hate dependent on somebody else to make things happen for us.
Exactly. I like to be in control. I still remember that game where the Steelers were playing in Cleveland, and all of a sudden everyone starts cheering in the stands and they're looking around, and that's because I think it was it the Bills and the Jets?
Are you talking about?
No, that wasn't last year. This was several years ago.
Okay.
So I think the Bills. I think that was that when Fitzpatrick was playing for the Bills, maybe? I can't remember.
Oh,
they had to beat the Jets,
yeah,
and they lost to the Jets or something like that. It might have been the other way around. It might have been Fitzpatrick for the Jets, and they needed to beat the Bills. I can't remember, but it was one of those great times in Week 17. The Steelers were at Cleveland, and all of a sudden all the Steeler fans started cheering in the stands, and they're looking around like, what happened? And then that's when they let them know that the other game that they needed to happen happened, and the Steelers made it in. And that's just kind of I'd love to see that. And I have all the confidence in the world in our defense. I just need to see some more from the offense. And like I said, it takes the players and a good game plan with a good coach. And I don't know that I trust any of them right now. So, but we're still going to come back. We'll be here next Tuesday. We are also going to still have a lineup of our podcast. I'm not exactly sure when or what it will be called, but I know Jeff Hartman is going to at least do a show by himself, if not with Lance Williams tomorrow. It might be a fireside chat with Jeff on Christmas Day. I don't know. But we'll have that. We will be back for the Steelers preview Thursday. We'll be rolling through with Lance's I said it on Friday. I'm pretty sure that's still on the schedule. Then Burning Question on Saturday. Don't know who's up this time. That's post-Christmas, so that's hard to think about. And then we'll be back for the Steelers post-game show, which will be, 4:25 games aren't that bad. It won't be super late at night. So anything you want to say before we head out of here, bro?
No, other than you caught me with that. Yes.
Can I actually call him?
Right out of my mouth. He's a chip off the old block. You thought fireside chats with Jefferson Hartman.
With Jefferson Hartman. Hi, this is Jefferson Hartman coming at you. I'm sorry, with these new mics, I just can't help it. So anything else?
No, just come on. Go Steelers. Whatever happens with the playoffs happens. Let's go out with a win.
Exactly.
Let's go out with a win. And wherever the chips fall, they fall. But let's win this game.
Yes. Do your part and then just see what happens.
Yep.
I like it. That's a great way to say it. Want you all to have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And in the words of our friend Lance Williams, tune in tell a friend, and subscribe. We'll see you all next time.